Yo, what it is? It's your boy, the one, the only. But what do I know? Yo, so I wanted to talk about something. Where does Gary Russell go from here? Just a recap, a little brief recap. Gary Russell fought Mark Magsayo. Gary Russell suffered an injury like in the 3rd or 4th round, where he threw a jab and connected, and you could just see him wince in pain or whatnot. And like from the 6th round to the 12th round, he didn't even throw. Like the 4th round, he threw like maybe 2 punches. The 5th round, he threw 1 punch with his. I'm talking about with his right hand, with his jab hand. And from the 6th to the 12th, he threw no punches with his jab hand. So which was his right hand, because Gary Russell was a southpaw. And the fight was still close. I had Mark Magsayo winning, but I had him winning 116 to 112, 8 rounds to 4, but only, not because of what he was doing, but just purely because of what Gary Russell couldn't do. And you know, him being a little more active, but Gary Russell definitely stayed in that fight and made it a competitive fight with literally 1 arm. And Mark Magsayo just like really couldn't, like, Gary Russell's experience played a key, and I have no doubt in my mind that if Gary Russell had two, you know, a healthy Gary Russell would have stopped Mark Magsayo. I have no doubt in my mind. However, what's next for Gary Russell? The scary part about it is the fact is Gary Russell was barely able to get fights with the belt, with the title. So where does he go now that he doesn't have a title? I personally would. My #1 wish list is that Mark Magsayo mans up and give him a rematch. But I don't think that's gonna happen. Mark Magsayo could barely get past Gary Russell with one arm. I don't see him fighting a healthy Gary Russell. I just don't. I find it so funny how Mark Magsayo, who's promoted by Pacquiao, I find it so funny how his fan base, Pacquiao's fan base, comes out and tells, you know, says Gary Russell got beat, you know, deal with it. So to the Pacquiao, not to all the Pacquiao fan base, because some of y'all, not all of y'all are stupid. But to the Pacquiao fans that are saying that, you know, that wants to, you know, give Mark Magsayo full credit on beating Gary Russell, but had a problem with Floyd Mayweather, the way Floyd Mayweather beat Pacquiao, and wants to blame Pacquiao's shoulder for the Floyd Mayweather fight, I want you guys to do me a favor and take notes. Because that right there is what a fighter looks like when he has a hurt shoulder. That's what it looks like when you have a fight with a hurt shoulder. Okay? So I find it so funny that Pacquiao fans seem to want the Gary Russell fans to accept this defeat and make no excuses and move on, even though it was clearly something wrong with Gary Russell's shoulder. So the fact that you can clearly see this man stop throwing, and Gary Russell is known to average like what, 30 something jabs per round. Didn't throw no jabs from the 6th round. Didn't throw nothing from the 6th round up. Virtually nothing from the 4th round up. But you want the Gary Russell fans to just accept the defeat and move on. But with Floyd and Pacquiao, Pacquiao's shoulder was injured. Yeah. You can kick rocks with that one, okay? So this is what's gonna happen. You guys are gonna accept the fact that Mark Magsayo beat an injured Gary Russell, and point blank period. Now with that being said, now this is to the diehard Gary Russell fans, okay? Regardless, yes, Gary Russell was not 100%, right? But you still have Mark Magsayo gets the credit for beating Gary Russell, because at the end of the day, what was Mark Magsayo supposed to do? All right, Mark Magsayo, it's not Mark Magsayo's job to make sure Gary Russell is okay. All right, Gary Russell signed the fight. He stepped in there to fight. Mark Magsayo has a job to do at the end of the day. So Mark Magsayo, he beat Gary Russell. It wasn't a healthy Gary Russell, but he did beat Gary Russell. That's just point blank period. So at the end of the day, you can't criticize Mark Magsayo. Now, you can criticize that he didn't, that his ring IQ is not up to par at all. You can criticize that, but you can't blame Mark Magsayo for Gary Russell being injured. You just can't do it, because at the end of the day, Mark Magsayo has a job to do. It's not Mark Magsayo's job to take it easy on Gary Russell. As long as Gary Russell has two arms, even though he's not using them, he's in the ring. He signed up for the fight. I don't care if he had no arm. If you sign up for the fight, Mark Magsayo has a job to do. So you can't criticize Mark Magsayo because Gary Russell was injured. However, we know Mark Magsayo, I know Mark Magsayo couldn't beat a healthy Gary Russell. And it's quite evident it showed up in that fight. What's next for Gary Russell? I don't know. I know for a fact, I'm not gonna say I know for a fact, because Mark Magsayo might prove me wrong, and I pray that he does. But I'm like 95% sure Mark Magsayo does not take a rematch with Gary Russell. Gary Russell couldn't get a fight when he had the title. So imagine how hard it's going to be when he doesn't have a title. Gary Russell is going to have to, I know Gary Russell is a warrior. He wants to fight the top guys. He wants the big names. I understand that. But Gary Russell is going to have to be okay with fighting second tier competition. Gary Russell's gonna have to, because he has to now put himself in a position to where he can either fight for another world title, or he can get a rematch with Mark Magsayo, or he can move up in weight and get a title shot. Of course, after he gets this injury taken care of. And who knows how long that's gonna be. So I like Gary Russell. I want to continue. I want to see him do good. I'm a huge fan of his brothers. I seen them in the amateurs. I never fought them, but I seen them. But Gary Russell's gonna have to he's gonna have to be active, bro. You can't expect a title shot fighting once every 2 years or once a year. It's not gonna happen. Okay. So, I don't. Mark Magsayo did nothing that worries me. Should they have a rematch, I think Gary Russell, a healthy Gary Russell, stops Mark Magsayo. Anybody on here that wants to put money up, we definitely can. But, Gary Russell's gonna have to be very active, man. He's gonna have to work, bro, and put himself in a position where he can get another title or a rematch, man. Those are my thoughts on it, man. Mark Magsayo, congratulations. Take my hat off to you. Hopefully Mark Magsayo watches this fight and learns from it, bro. He has a lot of learning to do. But that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Please hit the like button. But what do I know? And I'm out.